Welcome back, homies and honeys, to another episode of Final Fantasy XVI. Will be episode 74. We're getting up there. I'm due for arcade mode soon too. We got a couple things to look at.
Come back. The stew's awfully thin, isn't it?
I will not forget this kindness, my lord. I shall go to Eastport, but as soon as the rebuilding work is complete, I promise to return.
Okay, so we got Martha's Rest signboard, the emblem of Martha's Rest, personal fiefdom of the landlady of the Golden Stables, and an island of safety and security in a sea of anything but. It shows a sleeping chocobo, and the guardian and the bearers of Rosaria can too rest easy, safe in the knowledge that they have a friend in Martha. Then we got the Crimson Caravan signboard, the emblem of the Crimson Caravan, porters in a wide renown based in the market town of Bakhlid. It depicts a laden chocobo. After the death of her brother and confidant Theodore, Eloise chose to continue the work they had begun together, freeing bearers from slavery just as she had freed him so many years before. In loss, there will be found. Hard to believe Theo is gone. Every morning I wake, I expect him to be there in the stables, watering the birds or readying the packs, yet he is not, and it is everything I can do not to fall to my knees and weep. Still, I know I have to move on, but that doesn't mean I have to forget. My brother and I built all we have together, so as long as I still have the caravan, he will ever be with me, and I shall honor him in death by carrying on what he strove for in life. That is what I chose. Eloise. Tell him all made. Thanks again for helping me get the dungeon in order. Had you not rode gallantly to our rescue, I reckon poor Owain and them lot would still be stuck stealing Blightwater over a Bonner. There's always room for improvement though, so don't get your knickers in a knot. Should I come a-knocking at your chamber door looking for more spears and ash and whatnot? Mid. The courage to fight. What happened in Eastpool with the Bears and the Guardians has been a long time coming, and I'm proud that it could finally happen here in Rosaria. The Duchy of Old may be no more, but Archduke Elwin's dream still burns in the hearts of many, and it is through victories such as these that the fire will spread. This is only the beginning, Clive, but a fine beginning it is, Martha. All right, all those are I could do a lore dump, but I'm gonna hold off. We're gonna go push some story here because we're probably about to unlock more hunts, more side quests, more shenanigans. Go do that. I just want you homies and honeys to know that there will be an arcade mode soon, like next couple episodes.
I still say we're a compliment.
Say it all you like. Ah, Clive. I was wondering when you'd arrive. Please tell me you've come to take our young prodigy here off my hands.
I'm not here for Mid. I need information on Ash.
Then why not ask Molly if you can look in one of her ovens? Go on.
As soon as the Enterprise is ready, we'll be setting out for Drake's Spine. And we're going to need a safe place to land.
Preferably one that won't see my ship blown to shit and splinters.
If it were that easy, do you think Waloed would have resisted invasion for so long? Very little is known of Ash, and the information we do have is spotty and outdated. We have the good King Barnabas to thank for that. Waloed's borders have been closed to outsiders since the day he seized the throne. If there is anywhere safe to land, you won't find it on my map.
Then tell us what we will find. I'm sure you know better than we do.
But no splinters.
All right, if it will get you out of my hair. But interrupt me, and it's over. Understood? Barnabas Tham, the one they call the Last King. Understand him, and you will understand the kingdom of Waloed. Barnabas was only a boy when he arrived from beyond the southern seas, and barely a man before he united the ragged tribes of Ash. And having unleashed them upon the formidable Veldemark, he set his throne upon the ancient kingdom's ruins. The victory sent shockwaves around Valisthea, tales of Odin's might spreading through every court, parlor, and drinking hole in the realm. Note that this was in the year 843, and that the king still sits upon his throne some 40 years later, quite untouched by time. Waloed's recent inaction left many wondering if Odin had lost his appetite for war. And yet here we are. The Einherjar was committed to the fray, a bold declaration of intent. Orcs swarm around Drake's Fang, and throngs of Akashic haunt canvas streets. Though how precisely the havoc they wreak serves Waloed remains unclear. Regardless, if the order to attack truly came from King Barnabas, then one thing is certain. Waloed has achieved the impossible, and made bedfellows of beastmen and the ether-addled alike. All of which is a roundabout way of saying that you will be in unknown territory when you set foot on Ash. Much of the continent has already been lost to the Blight, and what few ports remain will be fiercely guarded. And that is to say naught of its natural defenses. Offshore currents will cast an ill-equipped ship out to sea one moment, and dash it against the rocks the next. But then the Enterprise is anything but ill-equipped, and Mid has made land there before. Now, if only there were someone with an intimate knowledge of the Shadow Coast, and where a daring gentleman might put ashore. You see, Clive, you had the answer all along.
Do you think you can get us back to that beach, Mid?
Picked you up from it, didn't I? Not that it were easy. The currents were a right bastard. But then, if it wasn't hard, it wouldn't be worth doing, would it?
Well said. Thank you, Lady Vivian.
If a few morsels of common knowledge and a sprinkling of tavern talk are worthy of your thanks, I wonder what genuine intelligence might earn me.
Probably more visits. Mid, I need everyone in the ale hall now. I'll fetch Joshua from the shelves.
Aye, aye, Captain.
If I knew there was gonna be a quest, I would have just, did that little scene like 3 episodes ago.
Clive, how may I help you today? One must understand one's place in the world. Thus ends today's lesson.
Please, Your Grace, stay strong. My Lord Marquis.
Ask about Joe.
It was the greatest honor of my life.
to be appointed protector to his grace. I have served him in the capacity since he first began his journey across Valistia, purpose of which was twofold: to further the Undying's knowledge of Ultima, and to further his grace's knowledge of you, my lord. After he learned of your survival, your brother insisted that we try to trace your movements. Thanks to the investigations of my fellow acolytes, we learned that your have taken the name of Sid.
But now,
our journey together is at an end. His grace binds me. He bids me remain here and protect those you and he hold dear.
so I bid you.
My lord, if I might be so bold, please look after him in my stead. Alright, ask about the hideaway.
Your companions are kind indeed.
Everyone has been most welcoming. Lady Tarja has been especially gracious. Though I know something of the medical arts, it's hardly enough to warrant the acclaim of one so skillful.
I must admit,
First, I doubted that her praise was sincere. We Undying are trained in what few simple skills might serve us in the field, but there is certainly no praises for those who excel in such endeavors.
but I see now.
That this is your way. You encourage each other, that each might lend their strength to the cause, no matter how seemingly slight their contribution.
Yote, is anything the matter? You seem troubled. Perhaps I might be able to help.
My lord. Yes. Perhaps you might. It's your brother. His condition continues to worsen, though he does his best to hide it. The lesion on his chest pains him more with each passing day.
I had feared as much.
There are certain elixirs which can ease the suffering of those afflicted by the curse, but his grace's case is severe. The drafts I have been able to prepare for him thus far have ceased to have any real effect. So I consulted with Tarja and certain of my comrades among the Undying about the possibility of finding something stronger. And thankfully, a recipe was found. The only problem being that the critical ingredient is exceptionally hard to come by, and our supplies are almost exhausted. Unless we can secure more soon, your brother's anguish will likely become unbearable. My lord, I know that I have no right to make demands of you. But would you help? For Joshua's sake.
For Joshua, anything.
Thank you, my lord.
So, what is this critical ingredient?
A rare herb by the name of stonerwort. It grows only where the ether is densest. The vigor it stores in its stems helps to counteract the curse. We discovered a patch near the aqueduct in Rosaria. But alas, yet more ether has erupted from the earth there recently, leaving the whole area flooded. The search continues for a new source. One that we might reach without being turned.
So it's only that you can't reach it. The Stonerwort itself is unharmed by the flood.
Well, yes, but...
Then I shall go in your stead.
But, my lord...
You've yet to find another source, correct? So for now, the aqueduct is our best hope. Besides, I'm a dominant. The ether can't hurt me.
Well, if you're sure, my lord. Stonerwort is easily identified by its blood-red blooms. Search around the aqueduct, and you're sure to find some soon enough. I shall remain here and prepare the other ingredients. I had only thought to ask for your assistance in finding a new source of stonerwort, but if you're sure about collecting it from the flood by the aqueduct, I should be most grateful, my lord.
Clive, I wanted to give you something for the kindness you showed my mentor.
What's this?
A chest of all the medicines you're ever likely to need. Seeing as you're so reluctant to come to the infirmary, I thought you might as well take a part of the infirmary with you.
I'm sure it will be very helpful indeed. And Taya, try not to work too hard.
And work Rodrigue all the harder, you mean? He's a quick study, but he's got a long way to go yet. I'll take that particular piece of advice when you heed it yourself, thank you very much. Besides, who else is going to see that your brother takes his medicine?
Who indeed?
Key item, medicine chest. The fuck is that? A beautiful carved chest. Oh, is this one of those things that go in your room or something? Yeah. Beautiful carved chest that opens to reveal countless compartments full of tonics and tinctures. Seeing as you are so reluctant to come to the infirmary, I thought you might as well take a part of the infirmary with you. A lot of key items up in here, bro.
I'm glad I was there for his final moments. He deserved the peace he chose.
You need anything, you just ask. We might not have your uncle's resources, but resourcefulness, we've got in spades.
You don't know what you're talking about. The odor's what gives Chance's stew its, depth. And that's what makes it superior to any old lizard livers.
Oh, please. Have you even tried the fried mortress? Taste, smell, texture. It beats your beloved stew hands down on every count. Now that's a masterpiece.
Sid! How about a round for us little people?
What do you recommend?
A shirt. This is a tavern, not a brothel.
You look like you could do with a drink. As if setting our people free wasn't enough. Good news, everyone. The casks have been liberated. Here's to Sid. Oh, keep your mug handy.
We all know that bearers have a resilience to the ill effects of ether. But don't you find it strange that there are those who, despite being free of magic's burden, can seemingly pass through a flood without consequence? I asked our luresman how this could be, and he suggested that it might have something to do with bloodlines. Many of the realm's dominants are born to specific families, you see. The Rasfields, the Lesages. So there must be something in those families' blood that provides them with the potential to become vessels for icons. But what about the ones who don't awaken? Could it be that this same potential provides them with something of the same immunity? Your uncle's recent travels with you across the ether-ravaged countryside would certainly suggest so. And yet, what about Gav? Well, in smaller, more isolated populations, bloodlines are less diluted. Hence, Shiva's dominance sometimes awakening in the child of a common northerner. And our scouts not having turned 100 times over.
I have no reason to assume otherwise.
Well, then that changes everything.
Sid, did you know that chocobos are far more resilient to the effects of ether than most other beasts? Some say that's one of the reasons they were tamed for use as mounts and sumpters, so that an ether flood wouldn't mean instant death for their riders or drivers. Me, I reckon they built it up over generations. Too many foolish traders driving their birds into floods, and only the toughest surviving.
Get ready for the lore dump, homies and honeys. Can I not talk to the apothecary? Oh, I have to talk to Josh. Okay, maybe no lore dump then.
Clive, you must listen to this. Lawsman, tell him.
Do you recall when we spoke before on the divinity of Ultima? Well, it inspired me to delve deeper into the subject. And what I discovered appears to agree with the findings of His Grace.
You will recall that my quest to uncover Ultima's origins began with the mural at Phoenix Gate. But while I've always known it to be important, its secrets have heretofore eluded me. Now, however, I believe I know where to find the more complete example, one that will reveal all we seek.
Master Clive, have you ever in your travels chanced to hear of the Circle of Malleus? I would think not, few have. But there was once a time when the faith flourished, the oldest known religion in the Twins, and though its popularity eventually waned on Storm, hints of its dogma remain embedded in more modern faiths such as the Crystalline Orthodox.
Wait, you said it waned on Storm. What of Ash?
Religious monuments are often torn down or repurposed when new faiths rise to prominence. But if no new faith arose, then perhaps the ancient temples might still stand. And so, you see now why I must accompany you to Waloed.
It would appear the past still has much to teach us, though in this case, it would not have been possible without the musings of Moss. To think that you carried a copy of my old mentor's chronicles all along. I am relieved to discover it in good hands.
I shall guard it with my life.
Joshua, if you're finished here, join me in the ale hall. I need to speak to everyone before we leave.
Right away.
If it please your grace, might I one day borrow the chronicles? For a short while.
Of course, Lawsman Hippocrates. You need but ask.
Mid said I could ride the Enterprise next. No, she didn't. She said I could.
My apologies.
By now you've all heard where we're going and why, so I won't bother you with the boring details, only the important ones. If we attempt to approach Stone here by sea, there's a good chance we'll be sighted and fall prey to the capital's artillery. So instead, we'll disembark on the southwest coast and make for Drake's Spine on foot. I say we, but it's highly likely the entirety of Ash is under the rule of Ultima. A large party would only attract unwanted attention, as well as slow our march and require supplies which may be difficult to obtain. Only Joshua and I will be going. And a scout. Preferably a good one. Gav, do you know of any?
You bet your ass I do. Might still borrow some of Lady Vivian's maps, though. Just in case, like.
Once you've dropped us off at the Shadow Coast, you need to retreat into neutral waters. Fly merchant colors and stay inconspicuous. If you sense any danger at all, you leave us behind and return to Storm.
Inconspicuous is my middle name. But like hell am I leaving anyone behind. The ship ain't going nowhere till your scurvy mugs are smiling on deck.
Jill, the Enterprise will appear a tempting target for royalists and pirates alike. You're to stop anyone boarding.
Don't worry. I'll keep the ship and her crew safe. You'll be needing passage home, after all.
But... very well.
If there are no questions, I'll see you all at the docks.
Let me know when you're leaving. I want a word before you go.
Of course.
Knowledge hoarded is knowledge lost. If I may observe,
your brother is possessed of a rare gift, and I do not mean the flames of the Phoenix. Words, Clive. His findings on Ultima and the Circle of Malleus are worthy of the great Moss himself. Should he choose to devote himself to this path, I hazard he could one day become quite the historian. But not before you and he finish your own story.
History can wait.
After all, for that is what it does. Ain't wrong.
I don't believe you've read this particular chapter before.
Probably a lot of shit to go through in here. Almost a whole level.
If you have a question for me, I should be happy to answer it.
Veldermark, formerly the most powerful kingdom in Ash, until Barnabas Tharmer led his armies in rebellion against it to rule and establish his own kingdom of Waloed upon its still smoking ruins. Barnabas Tharmer, king of Waloed, dominant of Odin, the Warden of Darkness. Barnabas is also a feared warrior in his own right after journeying to Valistia from the outer continent. Oh. As a young man, he led his people in overthrowing the ancient kingdom of Veldermark that once ruled northern Ash and established his new kingdom of Waloed upon its ruins. That's why he probably got so much info. Primogenesis, spellcast by Ultima to cast a rolling pell over all of Valistia, the unbalance in the aether that resulted to not only sap the potency of crystals and magic in those lands, that it remained livable, but filled the rest with floods, turning men and beasts into mindless, merciless Akashic, all to sap the wills of mankind and make all of humanity into his soulless servants. Circle of Malleus. So this is what he's talking about. He's talking about that mural. Ancient religion, once prominent across the entirety of Valistia, its key ideologies were rooted in the sacred nature of the mother crystals and the worship of Ultima as a god. Though long since faded, scholars believe the faith eventually branched off into what is now widely known as the Crystalline Orthodox. Wasn't the Crystalline Orthodox the dudes that didn't really believe in magic, but they worshiped the crystal, but they didn't use magic, and they thought anybody that used magic was bad? Wasn't that where the people that kidnapped Jill, the Iron Kingdom people, right? Journal of Moss. The Annuals of Moss the Chronicler, a scholar of Valistian history noted for his singular insight. Indeed, Moss's journal is one of the few histories to speak at any length concerning the ancient circle of Malleus, and the creature they worshipped as their god, Ultima. Both Moss and his journal were all but removed from public life at the the assistance of rival scholars, but Joshua requested the Undying were able to track down a copy of the prized tome. Right. Oh. Wait. Oh, it's almost full. Jill Warwick, dominated Sheba, trusted confidant of Clive, leader of the new hideaway. After Clive was bested by Barnabas in the bed of the Naldea Narrow, the two fled to the Shadow Coast. It was there that she entrusted her icon to him, that he might have the strength to fight their fate to the last. Right? Dion Lesage dominated Bahamut, warded of light after laying waste to much of the crystalline dominion in the Ultima-inspired frenzy. Clive evacuated him to the hideaway where Tarja labored to mend his wounds. Finally awake, he escaped to the Dominion to survey the damage he had done and collapsed from shock, awakening again to find himself in the care of a young medicine girl named Kahil, something like that. Sleipnir Harbard, Lord Commander of the King Walud's armies, despite apparently falling to Clive Rossfield's blade outside of the Canvarnian Agora, he appeared again in the Ironworks, conjuring countless doubles of himself that set upon Clive and his allies, providing Joshua a theory that the Constant Knight was no mere swordsman but a magical creation of King Barnabas. Crazy. Blackthorn, resident blacksmith of Clive's hideaway. He originally hails from Dravodes in the far-flung desert waste of Dalmekia, where he and Zoltan both apprenticed. After the Aether Flood filled the nearby mines, the town was set upon by Akashic beasts. He rode to Dravodes' defense, settling the bad blood between them once and for all. Together he and Zoltan forged Ragnarok, the legendary blade whose designs were bequeathed them by the master Vulcan. Right? Still miss it, Tomati. It's interesting. Doris, captain of the Cursebreakers, who directs their bear liberating operation. Doris was raised by Rosarian slave master who treated her branded charges as if they were her own children, teaching them how to read, write, and wield blade before hiring out their services to the highest bidder. Though Doris resents her former master for the terrible deed she made her do, she thanks her for making her strong, scrupulous woman she is today. Scrupulous. Then we got Owain, one of Mid's assistants, tasked with bringing the life of her designs for new inventions that might assist the residents of the hideaway in their day-to-day lives, and one day, perhaps, all people of the twins. Odd. Martha, landlady of the Golden Stables, the tavern at heart of Martha's Rest. Her efforts to save bears from the bonds of Valadum began before she met Sid, and like him, she dreams of a world where bears can live on their own terms. To this end, she nourishes the seeds of a better world that she and her guardians of the flame have planted in Eastpool. Felipe, former Imperial soldier of the North Reach garrison who left his post after Duke of Oriflamme took over. He elected instead to form a new town watch that he might better protect the town and those he loves. Isabella, chief among them, after leading the defense to the North Reach against a throng of thralls, he reconciles with the Duke, and they pledge to combine their forces to see the town safe. Victor, a friend of Clive's cause, who keeps an ever attentive vigil on the comings and goings in Dalmekia, after being caught up in the bandit raids on Dalamil during an excursion to his famous markets, and lending Clive and Lubar his aid in bringing the town together. Victor developed a fondness for the place. He began making regular visits, becoming firm friends with Lubar and earning the trust of the townspeople. Lubar, Forge Master of the Briar's Kiss, the the finest smithy in Dalamil, known to those in the know as the Desert Hare, from whose long ears no secret is safe. The leadership he displayed in dealing with the bandits' attacks led to his being proposed as a prime candidate to become the new mayor, but when the townspeople discovered that he was a bearer, they elected to drive him out of town instead. Drika, an orphan who lost her parents to the Ironblood's most recent crusade, she fled towards Downmill, finding a new family in Renz, a fellow orphan, along the way. The two were starving by the wayside when Lubar found them and took them in, adding a new elder brother to the Patchwork family. She is kind of caring soul who enjoys nothing more than listening on the conversations of the townspeople, whether they know it or not. Renz, an orphan who lost his parents to the Ironblood latest crusade, he fled towards Downmill, finding a new family in Drika, a fellow orphan, along the way. The two were starving by the wayside and when Lubar found them and took them in, adding a new elder brother to the Patchwork family. He is frank and forceful soul who enjoys nothing more than watching the townspeople at work and helping them with their tasks, whether they need it or not. Eloise, owner of the Crimson Caravans and highly esteemed porterage firm in Backled, eldest child and heir to a parent of a successful caravan trading house. Eloise abandoned her birthright in order to save her younger brother Theodore, who her parents would have seen branded after his powers awakened. Branded after his powers awakened. After Theodore lost his life before her eyes, she swore to continue their work and free bearers, that his death might not be in vain. Theodore, porter and guard for the Crimson Caravan, the porterage firm that he runs with his beloved sister Eloise. Theodore lost his life to his own blade after being taken by an ether flood whilst trying to protect the haven he had built for bearers from a rampaging dragon, wishing his sister a long happy life with his final breaths. Zoltan, chief of the Dalmekian smithing town of Dravid, whose skill in etching metal far elapses Blackthorn's own. After the latter aided Zoltan and his town overcoming the twin threats that faced them, an absence of aether that rendered their forges useless, and surfeit of it that unleashed an Akashic horde against its gates. The two were reconciled at last, each gaining a newfound admiration for each other's talents. I did so many quests. Sir Wade, loyal shield of Rosaria and leader of the Guardians of the Flame, who fight to see the duchy restored. In Eastpool, he finds a new purpose, to not merely lead his guardians against their enemies, but to lead his village in pursuit of a brighter future for man and bearer both. The High Cardinal, first and foremost of the 5 cardinals who made up the Council of Elders, second only to the Holy Emperor and the Imperial Government. After the fall of the Crystalline Dominion and the collapse of the government, His Eminence reappeared in Northreach, now going by the noble title of Duke of Oriflamme. He drafted both the soldiery and the common folk into his plans to turn the town into a new capital for a new Sambrine, only daughter of the Duke of Oriflamme, who escaped from the disaster at Twinside and took refuge in Northreach. Her extensive education in all matters spiritual and political, as well as her overbearing demeanor, rivaled that of her father. Her opinion on the Duke's plans to fortify Northreach at the townspeople's expense, however, differs from his greatly, and she attempts to enjoin Isabella's help to rally the people against him. Ehil, an orphan girl who pays for her bread by making and selling medicines. Her travels took her from Dalmekia to the Crystalline Dominion, where she nearly lost her life when the city was all but destroyed by Bahamut. After the flames died down, she labored to mend the wounds of the injured townspeople, eventually coming across a collapsed Prince Dion, who she nursed back to health. And we got Moss the Chronicler. Fabled scholar of Valisthea history and legend, it was Moss's writings that inspired Hippocrates to pursue his own career as a scholar of all things Valisthean. In his later years, he delved into the hidden history of Ultima and the Circle of Malleus. But alas, his findings were denounced and baseless speculation in certain scholarly circles. As a result, Moss's theories received little widespread notice and were all stricken from the historical records. Why would they do that if they weren't true? The Undying, a secret order who served the lords of Rosarian from the shadows. They revered the mighty Phoenix and its dominant, and once presided over the rites of ancestral communion at Phoenix Gate. Few outside the order knew of the existence, even among the highest ranking members of Rosarian nobility. Their loyalty to His Grace Joshua Rossfield is absolute, and none among them will hesitate to lay down their lives for his sake. At his command, their efforts are currently devoted to uncovering the truth behind the mysterious being known as Ultima. Kretov, a small Dalmekian village of bean farmers and goat herds, built in the shadow of fallen ruins. Though located at the edge of the fields of Korava on a caravan trail that runs through Titan's Wake to free cities of Kanvar, it's historically received few visitors, as most merchants choose instead to take the less perilous gilded path north. It receives even fewer now that the plague has taken the lives of most of its residents. Stonehere, capital of the Kingdom of Walud, located on the coast of Friggs Calms Ash, northernmost bay. Its mother crystal Drake Spine sits off the shore and is connected to the city proper via a massive span that legends say required 100 years and an entire mountain worth of stone to construct. Holy shit. Sounds amazing, brother. Continent, a vast landmass situated far from Valisthea's shores. Aside from the most intrepid traders and the odd, particular, curious scholars, few have been known to brave the journey there or back. For which reason, the character and customs of people remain a mystery to most. So they're talking about like another continent. Silver Peak Castorium, one of the largest and most prestigious trading houses in Dalmekia, who sought to scout Eloise. Their mercantile operations extended far beyond the borders of the Republic, and Eloise learned that they stepped in at the last moment to purchase the bearers for which the Crimson Caravan had long been bargaining with the army, and sell them on to a trader from the outer continent. In truth, they had been interested in the trade from the very start and only withheld making their own offer as courtesy to Eloise, one that was rescinded after she failed to respond positively to their offer to her. Okay. Mysteries of the Realm. The Unbranded. Most bearers are identified as soon after birth and are marked with the slave brand, but fortunate few are not and remain unbranded. An unbranded bearer can live like any other man or woman, so as long as their knack for magic remains a closely guarded secret. Should it be revealed, however, they are denounced as liars and imposters and are dealt the severest punishment. Icon. Shattered aspects of Ultima's power given flesh by human host. It is the two wardens of fire, Phoenix and Ifrit, who together comprise his perfect form. The icons of a lesser element serving as sacrifices to Mythos' altar in order to test and bolster the vessel's strength. Ashik, the irreversible change brought about by the living being's exposure to aether. Creatures are stripped of any intelligence or sense or of self they may have once had and become suffused with life force, usually manifesting in extreme strength and aggression. Though most regard men who turn Akashic as naught but mindless monsters, Barnabas and Slefner claim that they are in fact divinity. Slave traders, those who make their coin buying and selling bearer slaves. While the trade is highly regulated, a slave is a valuable asset, and so there is a thriving black market in stolen and unregistered bearers. Doris's former master was just such a black market trader who trained her abducted charges as killers for hire, knowing that if the branded was caught in the act, their ownership records could not lead to the constabulary to her door. The Ehrenhar, the flagship of Walud's navy, also known as the Black Galleon, in the vast seven-masted vessel constructed of 3 conjoined galleys, and could aptly be described as a floating fortress. Along the Royal Cavalry, it is the pride of Walud, and capable of swiftly delivering elite troops onto enemy soil to make war in the name of the mighty Odin. Jill was kept prisoner here after being captured by King Barnabas. Cashel greens, a leafy vegetable loved by chocobos. Such the bird's attraction to the scent, traders who transport them by wagon load must seal the moccasins tightly, lest they will find themselves accosted by a flock of wild boars on the road. Though most cashel greens are grown for chocobo fodder, they can be eaten by humans too, provided one trims away the toughest fibers and boils the fleshy leaves in salt water until soft. I want to eat some chicken greens. Mythos, Ultima's name for the vessel of limitless power that he has long awaited. He identifies Clive as the Mythos by virtue of his awakening as the dominant of Ifrit and having the power to absorb the aether of other icons. Ultima manipulates his servants into pitting Clive against the other dominants that he might drink of their strength and bring Mythos closer to perfection. Will, that will which separates humans from animals, is given shape by consciousness, a sense of self, and freedom of thought. Even when one is deprived of other freedoms, it is one's will that drives the pursuit of true liberty. To Ultima, however, human will is a sickness that prevents them from taking their proper divine form, that of the Akashic, who blindly serve his own purposes. To this end, he casts Primogenesis, transforming much of humanity into soulless servants. The bonds of consciousness. The fellow feeling that binds a person with those they love and who love them. So long as these bonds remain strong, so too does a human grip upon their will. Ultima casts Primogenesis in order to sever these bonds of consciousness, that humanity might lose their wills and turn Akashic, and that his vessel might be perfected. What do you got in here? Still missing a couple monsters. Oh, we got chimeras. So that was my first time fighting a chimera for that one quest. One where he helped a blacksmith. That there might exist a creature so terrible, so twisted as a tricephalic horror that is the chimera, is a striking reminder of madness or whatever deity first whispered life into them. It is not enough that the winged daemons are both astonishingly aggressive and adept in the manipulation of aether, but they are also able to wield their influence over other beasts, commanding them like a field marshal might his regulars. Fortunately, they are seen only rarely and only deep in the deserts of Dalmatia. Oh, so they're only see them in Dalmatia, huh? Very interesting. Are you telling me there's something I ain't see yet? Ah, Shiva, the Warden of Ice, whom Jilwork is the current dominant. Long before the fall of the Fallen, there existed a tribe in the Northwest Storm known as the Moats of Ice, among whom the dominant Shiva would be born. Tales of the Ice Queens of the Old North are passed down among the men and women of the Northlands to this day. Ice Queen. Alright.
The door to the shelves shall ever be open.
Very true.
Mid said I could ride the Enterprise next.
Got no action out of this episode. All like story stuff, talking, reading.
I am certain we will find what we seek in Ash, and learn the truth of Ultima's origins.
Covered in nicks and lumps, the lot of them.
How do you split the sea, you reckon? Is something wrong?
Not at all. Honestly. Can't a man wish his friend farewell? Just wanted to let you know that I'll keep things in order while you're off saving the world.
I'll hold you to that.
Got a side quest to do. I'm gonna try to knock it out this episode. Get it taken care of for the homies and the honeys out there. We are at about that limit. Oh, it's all men. It's me, Gav, and Joshua, and Torgal. The weird thing is like, what happened if see, this already happened though. Remember that Joshua has Ultima, or one part of Ultima, some part of Ultima, basically
the aqueduct
fused in
to
his,
find our stone wart.
fused in his body.
Blood red petals.
But when we fought Bahamut, we combined together. Remember that. And Clive already has powers of the Phoenix granted to him from Joshua, 20 years ago or some shit.
Just my There's only one thing for it.
Don't
Better
worry.
collect as much as I can before reinforcements arrive. Right. That should do it.
One of the few varieties of flora capable of resisting high concentrations of ether, this herb is most often found in and around aether floods, where the fauna that could feast on the nutritious roots oft fall prey to their Akashic cousins if they don't turn themselves.
Let's get these back to Yote.
Gotta go back to Yote, so she say okay.
Covered in nicks and lumps, the lot of them.
Oh, now there's a hunt. Yeah, great. Do a quest, go out, come back, hunt. Oh. Gonna be a mystery, or are you just gonna tell me where it's at? Pandemonium. Really? Those few souls who were able to escape from Ash before the skies changed tell of Pandemonium, the king of orcs, who led his fellow beastmen in a revolt against the Waluder rule. Though his rebellion was swiftly crushed by King Barnabas's armies, many of the orcs who now roam the Twins, stating their appetite for human flesh, bear his markings, suggesting that he is still commands his forces today. Something about something, right? The rule, bubble the Twins. No, it doesn't say anything about where this motherfucker is at. But we might be able to find out. Okay, so this motherfucker's over here somewhere. He gotta be over here somewhere, because he's not popping up in none of these areas. Usually when there's a hunt somewhere, it tells you, like, hey, there's a hunt somewhere, right? Probably. I'm assuming there's gonna be some spots up in here. Some places to go. That'll happen when we get there.
Yote, I brought back all the stone and water I could find. Will this be enough?
Yes, my lord. Thank you. I'm sure it will serve us until we can find another source.
I'm very glad to hear it.
You and His Grace are very much alike, you know. You think only of how you might help others, and never of the danger to yourselves.
No more than you have minding my brother. You've risked a lot for him, and I thank you for it.
I am honored that you should say so. But I beg you, my lord, do not give too much of yourself for the sake of others. We could not afford to lose you.
I'll keep that in mind.
Phoenix, heal thyself. Magic ash and meteorite.
You and your brother really are alike, my lord. Though selflessness is a virtue, I beg you, please take more care of yourselves.
We got another treasure? What did I get?
How do you split the sea?
I don't remember. I thought I checked everything before I went and started doing other stuff. Yeah, I'll go check it out. Not a big deal. Oh, it's the medicine thing. Yeah. Forgot. Medicine chest. A beautifully carved chest that opens to reveal countless compartments full of tonics and tinctures. As Clive often proved a difficult patient reluctant to come to the infirmary, Tarsha commissioned this curio that he might take a part of the infirmary with him. Right. All right, homies and honeys, I'm gonna go ahead and make the cut in this episode right here. Next episode, we go to Ash. I guess we go to Waloed. So hopefully you enjoyed this one. Catch you in the next one. We're gonna be O-U-Z out. Deuce.